It's time to take command with former NFL tight end Logan Paulsen and former Commanders beat reporter Craig Hoffman.
What's up? What's happening? Welcome in. It is the Take Command podcast. Logan Paulsen still on vacation, gallivanting about London. And so we have brought back, by popular demand, Jeremy Greene, NFL draft analyst, host of the Sportsocracy, to join me for a mock draft unlike any other we've ever done, Jeremy. It's not just because you're here, not just because the analogies and the wit and the insight that you bring that was very well received amongst our fans when you came on a couple weeks ago, but because we're going to do 7 rounds. We're going full sicko today, which is really, frankly, your specialty.
So I just did the mock that I'm putting in the media contest. So I did 7-round mock drafts for all 32 teams. So I am really prepared for this.
That makes one of us. So I'm so glad. I am prepared to run the technology and hit the buttons and look at you and be like, hey, who should we take here? The way I'm kind of almost thinking about this, as if I was the world's dumbest general manager when it came to scouting. Like I was good at maybe some other stuff that got me the job, and I'm just like, hey, Jeremy's my director of college scouting over here. He knows the actual players, so we'll have those discussions of like, hey, I know our team. And Jeremy does too. But Jeremy has an in-depth knowledge of these players. If you missed the first episode we did with him, he's got over 500 guys on his board, just eats, sleeps, breathes, quite literally, this stuff this time of year. Nobody knows this stuff better, and we're really excited to have him. So, Jeremy, anything going into the draft here that from a Washington perspective, whether it's from going through the exercise and on the 7-round mock you just did, or kind of bigger picture thoughts that we want to hit on before we pull up the war room and get going?
So first of all, I have to say thank you to all the great people that listen to your show. I did not realize that. So I do stuff with every team. I don't often get 100 new subscribers in like 15 minutes like I did with your guys. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I thought the software was broken. I went, oh great, it's awesome. I've been doing this for years.
Those two doofuses can't be that popular.
I've added more people in the last 15 minutes than I've added in the last 15 months. So thank you for that, and so many nice things that people said. So the thing that I always learn, and it's the reason that I do the final mock a week before the draft, is I go through and go team by team, 257 selections, and then I start to pick up on things. And what I picked up doing the 7-rounder this time was cornerback is not going to be fun, because we have a lot of guys, but we have several guys at the top that kind of do the same thing. Maxwell Hairston and Savone Revel are very similar. You don't have a ton of man-heavy guys. That's one of the reasons I've been so leaned into Noel Williams, because that's what he does. And so as I went through the process, I just realized that virtually every corner goes at least 25 picks ahead of where I have them on the board, which is interesting for Washington, because that's one of the things that I really want to do. I would like to find an outside corner so that I can slide Mikey Sainristil back into the slot, which is where I know they drafted him to go.
Yeah.
But then they signed Jonathan Jones.
Who they said at their press conference, when was this? Or the coach's breakfast, I think Quinn said, I think right now the plan is Mikey outside, Jonathan inside. So
Jonathan Jones cannot play on the outside. So if they signed him with the intention of him being a starter, then Sainristil is going to stay on the outside.
Yeah.
What I'm curious of, and this is, I would love to just sit down with a GM and bug them until they told me to go away, because that's one of the things I would love to ask is, at what point do you look at the draft board before free agency? So we've gone through the Senior Bowl, we go through the Combine. At what point do you look at this class and go, man, this is the slottiest group of corners I've seen in a long time? We got a lot of guys that are basically slot specific. I mean, I think John A. Barron's better out of the slot, and he's going to go in the top 20. At what point do you look around and go, okay, now this is when we add Jonathan Jones? Not because we don't want to eventually get Mikey Sainristil into the slot, but because we know we're not going to have a great opportunity to do it this year.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point. And I think it's something that has come up in quite a few Washington adjacent stories or Washington specific stories over the last couple of weeks, is like basically the moves that Adam Peters has made tells us what he thinks about this draft class. And what he thinks is it's not very good. And there are obviously areas of strength and weakness, and that's every draft class. But for their needs and kind of the high end starters that they might be looking for, specifically, obviously, at tackle. And I think to an extent at wide receiver. Getting Debo, getting Laramie Tunsil tells you he doesn't think that the crop of receivers and the crop of tackles in this class is very good, which I think, remembering, we've talked to so many people, but I think that you agreed with that when we were talking a couple weeks ago.
About tackle?
About wide receiver specifically.
Oh, wide receiver is a lot like my dating record. It's a whole mess of threes. I mean, there's one star, which is my current wife. That would be Ted McMillan for me. I like him way better than probably the industry. He's in my top 10. Everybody worries about, he's not going to separate. He's not going to do this. He's not going to do that. Then why are you just absolutely waxing poetic about Travis Hunter? Because Travis Hunter, yes, he's fast enough to separate. I'm not sure he is a good enough route runner. He's such an unbelievable athlete, but you're forgetting that he played in the Big 12 and he played the Pac-12 before that. Not known for its defensive acumen as a guy that covers the ACC, which is also not known for its defensive acumen. So, yeah, I mean, I don't love the receiver class. What you said about where Peters was spending the money, this is the most undefeated theory I have with the draft. If you want to know the position that a team with money doesn't like in the draft, watch where they spend it in free agency. And then watch, they won't take a guy before the 5th round. So you look at adding Debo in the trade. I don't look for you to add a receiver because you probably looked at receiver and went, there's only so many guys. There are a lot of guys that are slot specific, and that's where they're going to play best. And it's going to take me to Jaden Higgins. Jaden Higgins is my favorite. That's my favorite example of this because Jaden Higgins is a big guy. Jaden Higgins is a good route runner. Jaden Higgins doesn't separate as well as I want him to. I think he did a lot of his damage in the slot because people couldn't get their hands on him. And once he got that first step, he could get open. On the outside, he didn't do as well with that because he's not very good getting off press. So I do think in time he can play on the outside, but that's going to take a year or two. You're taking that guy in the top 60 picks. You're expecting him to come in and be blank. You know, if you're Washington, you want another receiver on the outside that can play opposite McLaurin, let Debo do what he does out of the slot. Then Debo can pop out there on the outside. You can slide McCaffrey in the slot, different sets, things like that. There's not really a guy that fits that's going to do that A1 since day one. You're going to get guys that I got to teach you how to do that.
Right. Igbuka maybe the exception there. I don't know where you're at on him.
Ibuka, if I die on December the 20th, 2053, I would have died on July the 5th of 2055. Emeka Ibuka probably took 18 months off my life because I love him. I love the tape on him, but I can't figure out how he's going to go in the first round. He's clearly one of my top 30 players.
Well, I'll say on the radio show last week, we did a mock draft and he wound up going 29 because all the edges went and like the only one left was Pierce. And I'm like, that dude's not a commander. He's not.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, no, he's
so in my last mock, I'll give you one guess who they took at 29.
If it was James Pierce, you're not going to be correct. That I would not
Why?
be surprised if that dude is off their board character-wise.
Okay.
Straight up character,
right.
They're not going to mess with it.
I'm so glad this came up because as I'm doing a show with Logan one day next week. I can't remember which one.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard that Logan is just Seacrest out. You
Yeah.
do realize I live 50 miles from the University of Tennessee, right?
Oh, yeah.
You do realize that I know a bunch of people that work in that administration. You know what's funny? None of them will tell me anything about James Pierce that's negative.
Interesting, because I've heard other draft folks say that like the staff down there does not like him. That they won't say anything nice.
So you know
him.
why they say that? I can tell you exactly why they say that.
Why is that?
Well, because his snap count was low and he didn't want to play snaps. But they do that. They've done that the entire time Josh Heupel's been here. Check Omar Norman Lott's snap count. It has nothing to do with his attitude. I went as far as to start calling people at his high school because I went so far down this rabbit hole of James Pierce is a character issue. And everybody told me, oh, he's not on my board. Okay, let me tell you how that will go. And this is in no way a you thing. This is, I swear to God, I almost got shirts made that said James Pierce Jr. is not a character risk.
Interesting.
And if he is, why do you care? You know who else was a character risk? Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons
I
had
think
things that weren't accusations. It wasn't, oh, he's this.
Oh,
he's
no,
that.
Micah had serious
It was
off the field stuff.
documented.
Yeah. No,
It's
I think
never come
the
up
difference though is the football character and the stuff with Pierce. And like there's a difference between like Mike Greene and James Pierce Jr. in the conversations. You might have different intel and different info, but this is a worthy discussion. And then now we've given ourselves less time to do the actual mock. But hey, there's only 5 picks on the board as of right now anyway, so
that does help.
We'll be
At
fine.
least you're not Baltimore, who has 8 picks after like
San Francisco.
130.
Yeah, San Francisco's got 11. Yeah, but the thing is like. Off the field stuff, you have to investigate it because you have to make a moral judgment and also a risk assessment of, is this guy going to do this thing again and thus not be available to us? On the field football character stuff, it's like, do you play hard every snap? Do you give the required effort? Are you a leader? Are you doing the right things in the weight room? Can we trust you to be a professional? And that's the stuff that I feel like is going around on Pierce is more of the professionalism, consistent effort, and that is stuff they don't tolerate here. Adam Peters and especially Dan Quinn, like you must play your face off at all times. Effort is not an option. And a lot of coaches say that. A lot of coaches don't live that. Dan Quinn lives it. And that is part of the reason why they were so good last year. Like they make the NFC Championship game, yes, primarily because Jaden Daniels is awesome. Duh. But you also have maximal output from every single player because they're giving their all at all times. And that is just not the case. And if I got a bunch of 8s that are given 10 effort, then I'm getting 8 all the time. And if I got some 9s that are given 5 effort, then I'm getting 6 production, and that's less than 8. And I think that is kind of how they overcame the talent deficit last year. And so if there's football character concerns about Pierce, I think he would be off their board.
Okay, so so I probably did more work on James Pierce than any player in this draft.
Okay,
and when I say that, if the average prospect got 8 hours over the course of the entire season, and I'm just using a round number here.
Yeah.
James Pierce got 80. I'm going to tell you, and I know that this is going to make me sound like a tinfoil hat, just kooky madookie. The government, I'm going to sound like Alex Jones, just the government's out to get us. I get it. I think there's a team that's been putting this out about James Pierce. I'll tell you why.
It happens.
Oh, I know it happens.
Yeah.
I think there's a team that's been very vocal about it, and this is one of those times I think I know who the team is. I have a pretty good idea of who this team is. The thing about James Pierce that has rattled me is that every single word that people tell me about James Pierce, all the character issues, all the character red flags, all of the things, it's verbatim the same lines. There is never nuance to it. It is every single time. It's word for word. And I've debunked about half of it. I've literally debunked about half of what I've heard about James Pierce. And you say, oh, the effort's not there. Okay. So I believe, and I've watched James Pierce tape ad nauseum. I think James Pierce can be taken out of the games. I do have issues with him mentally. It's not an effort thing. Pierce is not a refined prospect. I'll be honest with you. He's my number 6 overall. Because I think he's my number 6 player overall. Wow. I would take him over Mike Greene, and I love Mike Greene. I would take him over Mike Greene. Mike Greene's is the funny thing to me, and I say funny, not necessarily meaning funny. Mike Greene is accused of things that are absolutely awful. James Pierce is accused of being a potentially lazy, somewhat immature kid. And somehow that's being held more against him than what Mike Greene's being accused of. I can't get a word about what happened to Mike Greene. Yeah. 2 different cities, 2 different events. I have absolutely no intel. And that scares me to death. I love the player. I'm way more afraid of what happened with Mike Greene than I am with James Pierce. There are bad character guys in this class. I'll tell you one right now, and I'm not afraid of it. I'd say it to his face. It's Malachi Moore. Malachi Moore would not be on a team. If there were 500 rounds in the draft, I would not draft Malachi Moore at any point. James Pierce is not that. And it does. I hate Twitter. I hate it.
I'm not on it anymore, so I hear you.
I hate the other one. I don't even know what it's called. I hate Twitter so much that I'm not doing new Twitter. So what was that, Blue Sky?
Yeah.
I hate all of them because and I told you this before the show, the third guy that's doing our draft coverage from Green Bay with us, Canadian friend of mine, David Smith, does the Canadian side of sports for us. So he does Toronto Blue Jays baseball, Raptors basketball, and hockey. He has a line, and I'm gonna PC it for this show. It's free to say stuff.
Yeah.
Twitter is where people go, and it's free to say stuff. And you can say anything you want to, and nobody checks you. And I can tie probably 70% of what I hear about James Pierce back to a Twitter account from somebody that probably watches old WrestleManias in his mom's basement while he's waiting on Hot Pockets. I'm just telling you, if you let this kid go to Philadelphia, don't be shocked when 3 years from now you're going, how did we do this? Because you remember Jalen Carter, he was a characterist too. Yeah. Not one word. Not one problem. And I railed on Jalen Carter for character red flags. I wouldn't take this guy in the top 10. Meanwhile, the tape's fantastic. He goes to Seattle or goes to Philadelphia, excuse me. Weird. Yeah. Not one problem. Not one speeding ticket. Not one any of those things.
Yeah. In the Beast, Dane has in his write-up on Pierce a quote from an NFL scout. He says, I want to be convinced that he loves this. And I think that, like, knowing Logan, that is a huge red flag. Like, Logan loves guys that love it. But also you get, I mean, if it's immaturity, one, guys grow up. Two, you get them in the right atmosphere. And some of that stuff, like some of it, you have to create the atmosphere by not bringing those kinds of guys in. But every once in a while, if you can get a guy that just needs to be pushed in the right direction, and frankly, I think Laramie Tunsil's this way for Washington. They don't need Laramie Tunsil to be a leader. If you need Laramie Tunsil to be a leader, you're not going to be very happy. No. If Laramie Tunsil can go into a strong locker room and just play left tackle at a high level and be pushed by his teammates in the right direction, Laramie Tunsil is going to be a potential All-Pro. And that's why Washington did that. And maybe James Pierce is that kind of talent. All right, let's get to the mock after this final thought.
Oh, you're good. Sorry. When Laramie Tunsil comes in the building, I would have to resist the urge to put on the Darth Vader mask and just. Is it funny yet? Or this is your third team, so is it funny yet?
Happy draft season, Laramie Tunsil. I'm so sorry that just happened to you.
And that's a good example of what I was talking about. And look, this is the NIL thing because I cover college football too.
Yeah,
the NIL thing has changed college football. I will also just tell you this because I haven't heard anybody else say it. And I love Tennessee. They're very near and dear to my heart. Everybody talks about the character red flags with James Pierce. Look what just happened with their quarterback and pull the string. It's a different place. They have a collective that's spending money at a super high level. And am I going to sit here and tell you that this kid's not entitled? Nope, I'm not. Because he probably is. I don't know him personally. I've been in the same room with him, but I've never actually sat down and talked to him.
Yeah.
This kid made a lot of money last year at Tennessee. So he's a 20, I believe I think he's 21 now. If not, he will be by week 1. He's a 21-year-old kid that's big man on campus in Tennessee, and he's flush, and he's got money in his pocket. Am I telling you he's not going to have to be humbled? Absolutely. You know who I would rather do that? The guy that did it with Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
That's why I'm locked into James Pierce.
Interesting. All right, well, let's see if he's available at 29. We're in the war room. It's time to go. Mock Draft 3.0, the 7-round version. We are in control of the Commanders. Trades are live, although, Jeremy, I don't know that we're going to be looking to trade up at all, so I don't know how eagle-eyed I'm going to need you to be to say, hey, whoa, pause it. We need to make a trade.
There's a better chance of me making a Ricky Williams trade than there is me trading up in this draft. Look, this class from like 10 to about 50, you're getting largely the same value of player.
Yeah.
Now, if I can trade down because one of these teams like, I don't know, Pittsburgh gets desperate for Jalen Milroe, which I still can't say that out loud without laughing, that would be more what I was looking for.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So we'll see what offers are on the board when we're at 29. But off we go. Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter. Mason Graham to 4. Okay. Armand Membu, Ashton Genty at 6, Tyler Warren, Will Campbell at 8 to Seattle. So we got a trade there. Seattle comes up from 18 to 8 to get Will Campbell. Will Johnson 9, Kelvin Banks 10 to the Bears, Jalen Walker to San Francisco. We had a big Jalen Walker discussion last time with you, Jeremy, so people can go back and check that out. Mike Greene to Dallas, Tyler Booker to Miami. Shamar Stewart goes to Indy. Tet McMillan goes to Atlanta. Tet McMillan, Drake London. Congrats, you're now teammates. Matthew Golden, 16 to Arizona. Nick Amanawari, 17 to Cincinnati. Zadeh Barron to 8. Carolina at 18. Loveland, Starks, Sanders. Shador goes to the Steelers in this. Mike Williams, Derek Harmon. James Pierce comes off the board at 24 to Minnesota. So good thing we had the James Pierce discussion already because we're not going to have it at 29. Josh Simmons, 25. Jahad Campbell, 26. Omarion Hampton, Nick Scorton. And now here we go. So the best players on this board available are Walter Nolan, Greg Zabel, Emeka Egbuka. There's got to be other guys. Donovan Ezeraku is down there. So that's certainly going to be a guy we talk about here. I'm sure you've got your board in front of you, Jeremy, as well. Is there anybody immediately that you're like, I want to run to the board and take them before we even look at these trade offers? We will, but anybody who's like run to the board caliber for you?
If it was not Washington, I would be running to the board on Walter Nolan. He's my number 11 overall. For me, this discussion would come down to basically two guys. It would be Gray Zabel and it would be Donovan Ezeraku. Because for me, Zabel's the number one guard in this class by, let's see. The difference between Gray Zabel and every other guard in this class would be the difference between the Spice Girls and the 4 girls down the street that couldn't actually play instruments.
Okay. That's a large gap. And that would also mean the Dolphins, who I think took Tyler Booker at 13. Hey, you got the girls down the street. Sad for you.
For sure you did. But I do love that Tyler Booker is the biggest teddy bear in the history of time. Everybody tells me, he's such a good guard. Watch him in the run game and watch him just get absolutely annihilated by 240-pound guys.
I have not seen a lot of players with a wider range, like top of the draft players, than Tyler Booker. There are some dudes that love him, like top 15 player. There are some dudes that have him in the 60s. Sounds like you're the latter.
Everybody enjoyed my analogies last time, so I will try to keep that baseline with this one. The Tyler Booker goes in the top 15, even top 20 for me. It's kind of like the guy that walks up to you and goes, they're putting hormones in the water, and that's how the government's controlling us. I don't need to hear you say anything else. You are a crazy person, and I'm going to walk away slowly.
Just back away. Okay, so I think most fans here, and I certainly here, as I GM, go to you, director of college guy, be like, hey, I watched some guys here, Ezeraku, right? When you look at team need, when you look at the quality of player, and you look, I think the other thing that is appealing here about Ezeraku is the profile that he is specifically on the edge. They've got big edge setters now. They signed Dietrich Wise. They re-signed Cleveland Ferrell. Do I want Ferrell as a starter? No. If he's like my last guy in the rotation as an edge setter that I can play out there on some first and second downs, cool. We can live with that. They have Javonte Jean-Baptiste last year. He's got a little bit of pass rush juice, but is more of that bigger body type. They don't have their Dante Fowler replacement, and Donovan Ezeraku is that guy.
I agree. So for me, if I'm making this pick, as I said, it's either Zabel or Ezeraku. I get into the what can I not get with the next pick. There are a lot of players that can play tackle. There are a lot of players that can play guard. Depending on what I want to do with Coleman, for me, I evaluated Coleman as a guard when he came in last year. I was shocked that he played a year at left tackle and actually did so reasonably admirably compared to what I thought he was.
Yeah.
I would like to find a right tackle and slide him into guard. So
although they apparently are going to try him at right tackle and see what happens. So then again, they said that about Brandon Sheriff in 2015 too, and that lasted 3 days.
I think there's a possibility that this one does too. And it also depends on how the board falls.
Right.
I call the 2 weeks before the draft. This is lying season. This is the time that you should absolutely not believe anything that anyone tells you, because it is all bull bunky.
Yeah. So that then begs the question. We have an official sound, Jeremy. Ring, ring. It's. I'm not gonna lie. I stole it from the Le Batard show and their banana phone. But the trade phone is going. So here's what we got. I'm very intrigued by this offer. Pick 29, pick 205 for 36 and a second next year. So we can go back 7 spots, pick up Jacksonville, who might be good, but might be terrible. Their second rounder next year. The only problem is then we're down to 4 picks in this draft. And that is a bit of an issue. Buffalo is willing to swap back 1 and give us pick 109 in exchange for 205. That's intriguing. Pick 35 and Tennessee's second next year for 29 and 128. So again, now we're down another pick this year, but that could be a top and probably will be a top 5 pick in the second round next year. I think in theory, this is the trade I want the most. This gets down to some draft philosophy stuff, and I'm very curious to know what your thoughts would be of just how few is too few picks in a single draft. Because although, yeah, maybe you could trade back later and recoup some, is standing pat with 4 picks in a single draft, that's hard to swallow.
The question is, how safe is your coach? How safe is your GM? I would say
Very.
with Washington, they're both top of the league. So I can do that because I'm playing the long game. Now, that's the first question. The second question is, how many starters do you need to come out of this draft with? I think you need a starter on the offensive line. I think you need a starter coming off the edge. I would love to have a starter that plays on the outside at corner. Can I get those 3 things in this draft? A, can I get them in this draft if I make one of these trades? B, the 2 that are with Tennessee and Jacksonville, yes, that's the highest value. But you always got to remember, when you see a pick, a second rounder this year is equivalent to a third rounder this year.
Right.
You dumb everything down around based on the year. So if it was the same thing, would I consider trading back 6 spots to get a pick in the third round? Probably. Yeah. I think all 3 of them are good
especially
value.
because the current situation for Washington is they have this huge gap from 61 to their 4th rounder or their 5th rounder, because they traded away their natural 3rd rounder in the Marshawn trade, the Lattimore trade. That was in the Tunsil trade. They traded away the extra 3rd rounder they had in the Lattimore trade, the one that they got for Dotson. So there's a huge gap, which is why the Buffalo offers actually might be the one that we take here, especially if we only got to go back 1 spot.
Buffalo's the one I would take, and I wouldn't think about it. I've done this with Washington too many times, and I know a problem that I run into is that I want to be involved in the running back derby, and with my current set of picks, I'm not, and I really can't be if I want to fill my bigger needs.
And so the other part of this is, okay, now we know we're only going back 1 spot. Ezra would be our guy. What happens if he gets taken? We're comfortable having given that up and taking Zabel, or the other guy I would make the argument for is Igbuka, who's still on the board as well. We're comfortable with one of those 2 and the extra pick versus Ezra, even though Ezra is probably the guy that we wanted all along.
I don't believe Buffalo's coming up for just knowing. I'm playing the board here. Yes, Buffalo needs an edge, but I would say that's a secondary need for them after they sign Bosa. I would almost bet you they're trading up to get Walter Nolan.
Okay.
So I feel pretty safe they're not taking Ezra.
It's also worth mentioning, if this is an actual trade conversation, I can ask them.
Yes.
Hey, who are you taking? Because I'm not going to make the trade if I'm like, no, Ezraku's my guy. But if it's like, hey, we want to come up, and this also would be like, you have these other teams that are trying to come up. They're coming up for the same guy, and so we know we're good, as opposed to they're coming up to take our guy. So we're going to accept this Buffalo offer.
I'm in to accept that, and then I'm pretty confident they're going to take Walter Nolan, and then I'll take Ezra at 30.
Kenneth Grant. All right. Now we got more trade down offers. This is where it gets fun. Now we're picking up some extra picks. We got pick 30. We can take Ezra because Kenneth Grant out of Michigan was the pick. 30 for 52, 82, 92 from Seattle. They also give up 245. Houston, 58-89 and a second next year. Denver, 51-85 second next year. This is tough because now, let's see, the earliest we pick in any of these is 52, and then we have 61. I mean, so we, in a way, it's tempting. You're going to miss out on all this. It's very unsexy, but now we're kind of in the meat of this draft. Everyone says this is where the value is. So do we want to do it, or can I am also like, man, passing up on Ezraku, that's something we might regret.
So this is where I would use the you're the GM, I'm the scout. You give me 3 picks in the top 100, I'm going to make you happy just based on what we walk away with. Is it going to be a home run? No. Is it going to be a solid stand-up double? Sure. And I'll let you make the decision from there. I'm good either way. I can take Ezraku, wouldn't think a second thing about it. That Seattle offer's intriguing because there are a lot of guys in that specific area right there.
Well, what do we say? We need an edge, an offensive lineman, and a corner. Director of College Scouting, Jeremy Greene. If I tell you that's what we want with those picks, and we got 61 in there, you feel pretty confident we can get starters at those spots. Maybe not this year, but within the next 2 years.
If you give me 3 picks or 4 picks between 52 and 92, I can get you 3 starters and 1 really good developmental player. Or I can give you 1 guy that Dan Quinn may turn into an all-pro right now.
Well, that's intriguing. Okay. Does any of these, the other two, the 58-89, Houston second, we also keep 245 in that one, or 51-85, Denver second, we keep the other pick?
Denver's would be intriguing to me because I think Denver's going to crash back to earth because Bo Nix is not good at football, and I will die on that hill and be carried out on my shield if I need to be. That one would be intriguing, but I don't get the extra pick there. I have to wait a year.
Okay.
I want extra capital this year.
I think we're going to do the double trade down.
We're going full double doink?
I think we're going to double doink this. I can already see the comment section being like, how dare you pass on Ezraku? I'm also like, could we trade if he starts falling into like 38? Could we trade back up?
Sure.
Okay, let's keep an eye on it. I hit accept. I did it. Igbuka. All right, so Zabel went to 30. Igbuka, Nolan, that rounds out the first round. I'm like, where's Ezraku? Okay, right there.
Dart's going to go at 33.
Burden, Dart,
Giants.
Jackson, Morrison, Higgins, Tuamalo. Ezraku's still on the board at 39.
Let's call the Bears.
Okay, let's call the Bears. Chicago. Hello. Yes, Chicago. Oh boy. This is where I wish there was a website that didn't just have the trade charts, Jeremy, but one that did the math for you. That's what I would like. But okay, they've got 39. We want 39. We will give them. Do we give them 52 that we just got?
The Bears have a tremendous lack of capital too.
Yeah, where's
the Bears
the gap
have
for
a
them?
bunch of picks up high, so they have 3 in the top 41.
Yeah,
but then they only have 3 more picks. I'm curious.
72, and then they have a gap to 148. So if we went 39 for 52 and 92, is that too much? We would probably need to recoup something in the future.
Yes, and I'm not sure that we have to do that. So just looking at it as it is.
Well, I guess we have what? Between 72 and 148, we currently have 82, 92, 109, and 128.
So to get to 39, and I'm looking at the chart, and I know the Jimmy Johnson chart is not infallible.
Yes.
61 leaves you roughly 78 away. So offer 61 and 82 and see if they take it.
Okay. I can dig that. Because then we have, 52 to 92 or not.
I'm fine.
Would you rather do 61 and 82 or 52 and 92?
I would rather do 61 and 82 if they will accept it. If not, I can shade off to 52 and 92.
Okay. Oof.
Of course it was.
Okay. Chicago, get back on the horn here. We're not done with you yet.
Chicago, I don't give up that easily. Okay. You take one look at my wife and one look at me and understand I am a persistent dude.
All right. I'm going to try 52 and 109 first. That trade's been rejected. Okay. This is fantastic podcasting.
No doubt.
Chicago, confirm. 52-92 for 39.
I'm in.
Come on.
I'll go 50. One more offer. I'll go 52-82. Final offer.
52-82 as opposed to trying to. Well, I guess we're already down a second next year because the
I don't
Tunsil
want
trade.
to give up a future pick.
Okay. All right. Propose. You sons of guns. All right. Fine. Woo! We got it. All right. We did 52 and 82. That was. Now I know why when he got done doing the deal with Roseman last year, he just Howie, you're a pain in the ass. Ryan Poles, you're a pain in the ass. Signed, Bears fans. Okay, Donovan Ezeraku, welcome.
Hey, Ryan Poles, we bought you 8 crayon drinks.
Yeah,
we're looking a lot cuter now, aren't we? Just kept going. You're gonna do it.
Yeah, we're rejecting all these offers. Thank you.
For sure.
We're taking Donovan Ezeraku. All right, everybody, we made a pick. Okay. Ravel goes 43. Donovan Jackson's a name people know. Try Amos 46. We're getting, or no, we gave up this pick. All right, there goes your guy Jalen Noel, and there goes the other Bears pick. Maxwell Hairston 56 coming off the board. Logan's guy Jonah S. All right, here we are. Savanea. All right, we're on the board at 61 now. The Cowboys are calling, trying to take. That's a no. That's a no. And then the Giants are calling. They want to give us a 4th next year. No,
can you hide that?
Yeah,
I can go down 4 picks. I want to see. So I took.
Oh, I already rejected him.
Oh,
because I don't.
I would have seriously considered that 4 because I would be looking at. I've got Caleb Johnson just on the screen that I can see. I've got.
Yeah,
Caleb
that's
Johnson.
true. What positions do we want to look at here? That hurts, by the way. Oladejo going off. Although if we got Ezeraku,
I'm in like with Oladejo. Oladejo and I, we can meet for coffee. We can meet for a marg at the Applebee's after work.
Okay.
I'm not in love yet. Look, I watched too much of this kid playing off-ball linebacker, and I honest to God thought they really needed to tell him that the football was what he was after, because I wasn't positive he knew that. Now, as an edge rusher, I stood right next to him at the Senior Bowl. Kid's built out of granite. I got that.
Yeah, that's where I was thinking. All right, so best available. Milrose, the best available here, allegedly. Caleb Johnson, running back out of Iowa. We got Judkins out of Ohio State. What positions are we looking at here that you want to focus in on?
Corner it would be the first one that I'm looking at solely because I'm curious that's what I was afraid of.
Yeah, so just to recap here, Hairston went 56. Darian Porter went 53. Azare Thomas went 48. Amos went 46. Ravel went 43. I saw Benjamin Morris up here. Yeah, Benjamin Morrison went 36. So
I have a better chance of going at 36 than Benjamin Morrison does, but throwing that out there. I also have 2 working hips, so.
Yeah, the injuries there is not a good situation.
Oh, it's not just that injury either. He's got a slew of them.
Yes. So we're kind of in corner purgatory here.
All right, so it's not a corner. So now I'm looking running back, offensive tackle. All
right, let's look at the tackles first. Here's your list of tackles. Ursery out of Minnesota, Emory Jones out of LSU, Ozzie Trapillo, who I think Logan likes a little bit, out of Boston College. Cameron Williams out of Texas. Anybody else down this list? Anthony Belton, I feel like is higher on a lot of boards than 134. Anybody else that's worth shouting out that's available here?
No, if I'm taking a tackle, it's Ariante Ursery.
Okay.
So
then it becomes that or running back. Running back, we got Caleb Johnson, Quinshawn Judkins, DJ Gideons, Cameron Scatabo. We got Tootin, the kid out of Virginia Tech, who's a flyer. RJ Harvey, I know some people really, really like.
I like Harvey. I like Dylan Sampson if he could figure out how to hold on to the ball. There's a lot of running backs. Just to humor me, wide receiver.
Okay. Wide receiver. Jalen Royals. Jack Besh out of TCU, Ayo Manor. Who's the guy that you like?
Elikai Manor is the one that I am in love with. He and we're looking full on rings with IU Manor because I think there's still so much to him. He has kind of a spotty medical past too, but it's not been so much in the last couple of years. That was more going back to high school. The thing about IU Manor, the craziest stat you'll ever hear, to this day, as of right now, April the 17th, 2025, that kid has played 31 games of competitive football in his life.
That is concerning if that's injury related.
It's not. Oh, well, the two injuries were in high school. So he had gone for, I think he was I can't remember if he was playing rugby or soccer. It was one or the other. And he started playing football and he came to the States. And as soon as he got here, he got hurt. And he was really impressive. But as soon as he got here, he got hurt. And then he got hurt the next year again. But he didn't really have any problems at Stanford. I'm going to go Urshery solely because at least this is going to be the scout's recommendation for the GM to do. Ultimately, I work at the behest of the GM. I would go Ariante Urshery because that would let me slide Coleman into the inside. There are still running backs. There are still receivers. Offensive tackle gets thin because I see Emory Jones as a guard. Trapillo is a guard tackle kind of mix. Cameron Williams is a guard. Charles Grant is, I think, a long-term tackle, but probably starts at guard. So my recommendation would be Urshery. I go all the way to 92. There are a lot of running backs there. If I have to settle for Dylan Sampson, I'm not against that.
Okay. My other question would be, can Urshery play guard?
No.
Okay. Because
he's too tall and he's too stiff.
If I tell you that Brandon Coleman, we're committed to that at right tackle, would that change it, or would you be like, no, it's still worth it. Let's have those two kids compete, and if all of a sudden Coleman winds up at guard, he winds up at guard. But it's Urshery's worth it.
If you said it to me that we're committed to Brandon Coleman, I would have just immediately go, but for why? but for why are you committed to Brandon Coleman? Because I go back to my evaluation. That's the beauty of doing the draft year over year is that I do know that Brandon Coleman to me was a guard. And so I've got Urshery Urshery shouldn't be here. At 61, he's great value. I have limited capital. I have to make the best use of, my board is laid out in a way that I have numeric number grades beside all these guys. The highest number on the board, or one of the highest numbers on the board for me, is next to Ariante Urshery. I feel like then that sets my line. I've got two behemoth tackles, and I'm protecting the best asset, which is Jaden Daniels.
All right. Ariante Urshery, welcome to Washington. You are the pick.
That is a BDD, a big dadgum dude.
Take Command Mock Draft 3.0. Jeremy Greene with us again. Logan will be back from vacation next week. He will look at this mock draft and go, oh my God, what have you done?
Where is Logan, by the way?
He's in London with his family on spring break vacation. So actually what he'll probably do, Jeremy, is he'll probably listen to this on the plane ride back. And I wish that I could be sitting next to him just to watch his face while he does.
So does he not like Urshery?
I don't know if he likes Urshery. That's actually a player I don't think we've talked about a lot. So
Urshery, I'm a big fan of Urshery. I know he's not going to like my James Pierce take solely because if I remember correctly, I think we talked about it, and I told him the same thing at the combine that I just told you about Pierce, which is if he's such a bad dude, why can nobody give me an example of what they're talking about?
Well, he was not on the board for us anyway, so we didn't have to have that fight in the draft room. By the way, no fights actually happen in the draft room because you have those fights beforehand, so that everyone's on the same page when you're in the draft room because we're a functional organization. All right, and that's not a bit. That's actually we're pretending to be Washington. We're actually a functional organization, and boy, does that feel good to say. Okay, 92. We had a terrible trade offer that came in from the Vikings, and we were like, you guys can go kick rocks. where do we want to look now? A bunch of the running backs came off the board. Cam Scatterbo just came off 2 picks prior. We had, let's see, who else went off? Judkins went off. Caleb Johnson went off back at 70. So where do you want to look positionally now as we sit here at 92, knowing we have 109 and 128 to come?
Caleb Johnson was the one that I died a little on the inside. So we'll look at running back. Man, running back's deep. Still got DJ Giddens, who I really like Giddens. Scroll down just a bit. See Dylan Sampson, who I like. Still see RJ Harvey, Brashard Smith, who I'm really high on. All right, let me see receiver.
Torrey Horton. I was
boy, that's. Hey, choose between your children, Torrey Horton or Isaac Tesla. Which one do you love more, Daddy? Oh, good Lord.
I was listening to a podcast yesterday. Daniel Jeremiah was on the Athletic Football Show with Dane and Robert, and they were doing their favorite guys outside the top 75. And I think it was DJ who mentioned Torrey Horton as one of his guys, the wide receiver out of Colorado State. Seems like you're also a fan.
Oh, the Torrey Horton and Isaac Tesla would be, if we were going value to draft selection to just overall Jeremy Love, I would say those two would be 2 of my top 3 receivers in this class. I love Torrey Horton.
Tell me more about Torrey Horton.
So he had an injury this past year at Colorado State. He had been really productive there. I think he can play inside, outside, really seamless in and out of breaks. He's just one of those guys that, sometimes, especially when you're looking for a 2. So especially what Washington is looking for right here. Sometimes you don't necessarily want the sexiest guy to be your 2. Torrey Horton just wins. And it doesn't matter if it's in the slot. It doesn't matter if it's outside. And looking at 2 pieces or 2 players that you have invested pieces of draft capital in Luke McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel. Those are 2 guys that play out of the slot. Those are also 2 guys that have injury histories that are not beautiful. So having a guy that can do both is really intriguing to me. So Horton, here's a who. He's up there really, really high for me.
I have the beast open in another window because, of course, I do.
Don't feel bad. I've had it open it's been open on my second computer on this desk. Since the day it came out.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's bookmarked. Dane's got a 3rd, 4th round grade on him. 5th-year senior, 6'2", 196, 4'4", 140, 153.
The 40 shocked me.
As in, it was faster than you.
It was faster than I thought he had functional play speed anyway, but I thought he was about a 4.5 guy. When he ran the 4.1, actually, Logan and I were together when that happened, and I went, that dude just went up my board a lot. Because that was really my only knock on him, was I didn't think he had great straight line speed.
Well, 4.41 with a 1.53, 10-yard split. That's pretty good. So yeah, super intriguing. It's got the size. I'm definitely okay with that, especially if we feel like at 109 or 128 we can get a back that we like. Is there anybody? Corner's the other thing that I feel like we should at least click on every time that we pass through. Dorian Strong is the top person on this board. Zy Alexander, Kobe Bryant, Jordan Hancock. Any of these guys intriguing to you at this spot?
No, I'm still looking at Noel Williams right there at 1. Noel Williams is wow, that is really low on this board. That would be the next one that I would feel really good about. It's kind of Noel and Za Frazier together. I would feel better with Noel higher. Probably Za would have to fall off that 181 for me to feel good about him.
So we're looking at next pick. Maybe we'll explore that, but we're safe now. All right. Is there anything?
Will you hit all just so I can?
Yeah, I was about to say we should look. All right. So Tyler Shook is the top player on the board here, on their board. Omar Norman Lott, who Logan loves.
I love him, but the knee injury scares the bejeebers out of me.
Yeah, he is second. Latham Ronson, the safety out of Ohio State. Cam Williams, offensive tackle out of Texas. DJ Giddens, running back out of K-State. Jordan Birch, if you want another edge, out of Oregon. And then you're talking about Dorian Strong or Terrence Ferguson. Logan loves him. Now, Logan also worked with him a little bit, but Logan loves him as a tight end. Which again, I'm not opposed. If you're telling me I get my Zach Ertz replacement because I don't know that Ben Sennett's going to be it, I'm not opposed. I want a playmaker. Terrence Ferguson might wind up being a playmaker, but if you think the kid out of Colorado State's better, then I have no problem going receiver. That's probably the better route in terms of position.
I like Horton a lot. I'm going to resist. There is a name on that screen. Demetrius Knight, I am just in love with, but obviously you've already got Luvu and Wagner.
And they have Jordan McGee, who they took last year, who they think is the heir apparent for Wagner.
I liked McGee. I love Demetrius Knight.
Interesting.
But obviously not for Washington, just a name that I saw on the screen and went, it pains me to not be able to take him right here.
Well, let's see where we're at by 109 and 128. If we got a player we love, we might go off the board because, like, I'm guessing he can play teams. There are worse things we can do than get guys who can run and tackle. That
dude, Demetrius Knight has an aggression to him that feels like somebody told him in the locker room that there's only enough steaks for 22 of you, and he really wants to earn that steak.
Yeah, he that sounds like a commander. So we can talk about the commander tag, but I think it sounds like Torrey Horton might be the pick here. How is he as a competitor? Because that's always the thing. That's always going to be my last question. Is GM Adam Peters here, Dan Quinn popping out to the side, pretend I have no hair, popping out and just being like, "Hey, by the way, how is he as a competitor?"
Colorado State was not very good. Effort level was always high. For me, he is the perfect fit here for Washington. I think he is just a dog. For me, it's Torrey Horton. I think you'll love him. I think you'll love him on the outside. I think he'll be your 2 in time, and he allows you to move Debo around. That's what I got to have out of a receiver, and there's just not that many guys like that in this class. So many of them are slot specific.
All right, Torrey Horton, welcome to Washington. Pick 92. Next up for us will be 109. There goes Shook off the board. Let's see who else comes off. There goes Giddens. David Walker, who I know you guys love. There goes Norman Lott. Will Howard, first pick of the 4th round. Restrepo finally comes off the board. Dang, there goes Ferguson. There goes Tootin as well, the super speed back out of Virginia Tech. All right, I feel like we're gonna have some decisions to make here.
Just for Commander fans, since we have talked a lot about running backs, Bashel Tootin he's like a Ferrari, but you don't know how to drive a stick. Awesome. He can go. He runs a 4.32. Awesome. Can he get to the corner? Because there are times it looks like he runs to the line with his eyes closed. So
the Commanders have had quite a few guys like that over the years. There was a kid out of Oregon. I think it was Byron Marshall, who was here for a little bit, converted wide receiver. Do I have the right name? I think that was him.
That name's not ringing a bell, but I'm so buried in this class that this would be the time that you could slip one past the goalie.
Oh man, he's 4'3" fat, and it's like, yeah, but he never gets anywhere. So
Trung candidate. I call those Trung candidates because that was a running back that played for the Rams. He was first round pick.
I remember.
And even at like 14 years old, I laughed and went, "You know why that's stupid, right?" Hey, he's really fast. Cool. How you gonna get him into space? Because he has the spatial vision of Stevie Wonder.
Very superstitious. All right, 109. Demetrius Knight still on the board. That's going to be you're going to start climbing on the table, being like, guys, I know that's not what we need.
I know it's not a need, but he is a dog.
It's what we want, and he fits what we want to do. All right, offensively, Miles Frazier is their top player on the board. Guard out of LSU. As a reminder here, we picked Ezeraku, Ursary, and Horton. We have 109 and 128 left. So we only got 2 more picks, and we're not going to be messing with 7-rounders. We build this as the big 7-round mock draft, and we're going to be done at 128.
We're done in 4.
Yeah, which, fine. Miles Frazier is the top guy on their board. Rondé Gatson, I'm mentioning, 1, because he went to Syracuse, and 2, because it makes me feel old because I remember watching his dad. Anybody else here on the offensive side of the ball? Dylan Sampson, running back out of Tennessee. I feel like that's someone that we should probably put a little bit of a pin in. Jack Sawyer still available, the edge out of Ohio State. I know Logan's not very high on him. I don't know how you feel about him.
I've gotten lower and lower and lower. I just think he's going to end up being Sam Hubbard.
Oos, a fine player. Like Sam Hubbard in the 4th round, we're fine with. Sam Hubbard in the 2nd round, not as much.
Doesn't make me feel warm and fuzzy on the inside.
There's your guy Malachi Moore, who's not on our board as previously discussed.
Yeah, Malachi Moore. If this draft was 714 rounds long, I might consider you in round 712.
Maybe.
Only because I'm out of names. Like I don't have any more players left. I got to say something.
The Washington Commanders have passed on their pick in round 712. All right, who do we want to double click on here? First for more information, then to take.
Lathon Ransom is, or I don't know if it's Lathon or Lathan. I can't remember.
Let's see if
he's really intriguing because he is just an absolute aggressive, knock your head off your shoulders safety, box safety. He's really intriguing to me. Obviously, Demetrius Knight that I had already talked about. Neither one of those feel like really pressing needs. So now it gets into is there a position that you're okay with not getting just solely because you took a player that's that good?
Yeah. By the way, God bless Dane Brugler, Lathan in the Beast, because he has the pronunciations, which I'm
convinced Dane Brugler puts their dogs' names in there. Like, just in case, hey, do you want to know what Lathon Ransom's name or what his dog's name is? Cool.
Sure.
It's right here. It's Snuggles.
Yeah. Which is hilarious considering what kind of player he is. Look, I don't think that Adam Peters and Dan Quinn are ever going to turn their nose at guys who can hit real hard, run real fast, play their faces off. There's always room for those guys on the Commanders roster. To me, the question I would fire back is, hey, we've pushed off running back. Is there one of these guys that you believe in? And if so,
3 of them.
Let's take them. If not, and if there's 3 of them, maybe we'll say, all right, we're going to take your favorite that's left at 128. But if you really like...
Dylan Sampson's the one I really, really like.
Okay, tell me more about Dylan Sampson.
So Dylan Sampson, another Tennessee guy. This has been a very Tennessee appearance for me, of which, sounding like this, it does make sense that I understand the...
Remember, everyone, Jeremy lives in North Carolina. No bias here.
No. Dylan Sampson, look, he was the SEC Offensive Player of the Year. That should tell you a lot.
Yeah.
The reason that he falls is because he is a shorter guy. He's only 5'8", but he's compact. He's still got a real pop. The negative on him is all of the sudden last year, it's one of the weirder things I've ever seen. Dylan Sampson was approaching a record for most consecutive carries at Tennessee without a fumble. And then he had like 6 in a month and a half.
Wow.
I've never seen anything like it. He was one of the most secure ball carriers you've ever seen. And he just couldn't hold on the ball. I do think that's why you're getting him here at 109. I can't remember exactly what number I have on him. I know he's in my top 100.
Okay.
He is. So Dylan Sampson is my number 7 running back overall. He's only behind Scattaboo, Henderson, Judkins, Johnson, Genty, and Amarian Hampton in that order, in that reverse order.
So you're a Hampton over Genty guy. I'm sure that's been discussed in other platforms, but
I am. Look, and I'll give you 15 seconds on this one. I understand the ACC is not great competition. Is it more impressive to see the bully beat up on 8-year-olds, or is it more impressive to see the bully beat up on 11-year-olds? And I keep going back to the Penn State tape going, Ashton Genty looked, I honest to God thought he was going to sit on the field and suck his thumb and cry because Penn State had just completely neutralized him.
Yeah.
And that's, if you play that in reverse, that's what he did in the Mountain West. I have so much better talent than you that I'm running through holes you could drive a Buick LeSabre through. I mean, I think he's good. Don't get me wrong. He's my number 2 running back in the class. Hampton's a better pass blocker. Hampton's a better pass catcher. I think he's a better outside runner than Genty. Genty does really well when things are blocked up well for him and he gets you into space.
Interesting.
He gets you into space, he's practically impossible to bring down. And there's a great merit to that. He's in my top 20 overall.
Yeah.
But I do prefer Hampton. I think he's a better all-around back.
Interesting. All right. So I'm going to say this is between Sampson and Knight. Do we go with the depth at Knight and take the risk that Sampson's available next?
I'm going to take Sampson because Sampson feels a need. I don't I really want to say Demetrius Knight because I love him and I want to do karate in the
I'm telling you, we can. I'm giving you permission as general manager here to take that risk and say, if we don't get Sampson, I'll be okay with us taking Harvey or whoever else at 128.
But are you okay with not getting a corner?
Oh, that's a good question. Which of these corners is worth it?
Noel Williams. Noel Williams is the one I want.
Okay.
He's the one that I want. Ooh. And I got my eyes on you at 128.
Okay. Dylan Sampson's the pick at 109. We're being responsible. We hate to do it. They're just belting off the board to the Eagles.
Just went full. I want McDonald's. We've got McDonald's at home. I'm proud of us. I did not get my Happy Meal toy, but
at least you don't have to do it twice because Knight came off the board at 122 to Denver. By the way, Dante Thornton comes off the board at 120 to Tennessee. From Tennessee to Tennessee. That wasn't me misspeaking. He goes from Knoxville to the Titans. 128. Okay, now we go to defense. Corner, Noel Williams, California. Before I hit the button, I'm going to hit the button. I'm not trying to make things difficult. Just tell us a little about Noel Williams, our final commander we're about to take here.
If you want a guy that can tangibly play man, he's the last one left, and he is an absolute animal in terms of press. He's got some of the better hands I've ever seen. He's a bulldog against the run. He gets washed out from time to time, but I think that had more to do with where he played than him. Noel Williams, for me, among corners in this class, I'm looking at my big board now. The only outside corners I have ahead of him are Travis Hunter, Will Johnson, Revel, Amos, Morrison with an asterisk, Porter, and Hairston. I have him directly in front of Azaria Thomas,
who went 46, I believe, in this. And we're about to take him at 128. All right.
Noel Williams is one of those when people say, hey, who's your deep dive day 3 sleeper that your team should really want? Noel Williams. You don't even have to finish that question because I know where you're headed. Noel Williams, California.
Noel Williams, California. Welcome to Washington. All right. This draft is going to keep on going here on the screen all the way down to 250, whatever the hell picks it is. But our promise of a 7-round mock, we made some trades, and we're done. Jack Sawyer, off the board in the 5th round.
I just had him go off the board at the beginning of the 4th in my full mock.
Real quick, where can people find those full mocks, and who was your first rounder that you wound up taking for Washington in that one?
So in the full first rounder, it was James Pierce. In the A+ mock for Washington, it was Donovan Ezra-Rocco.
Okay, and we wound up getting
you've also
and
this is one of those times that I have to give kind of the fait accompli. All right, so I enter the media mock draft contest every year. I have now said 3 years in a row I'm going to win this thing. So the way that is graded is by getting the correct player in the first round and getting the correct player to the correct team. I don't see how any of the other edge rushers fall because, I mean, look, Ezra-Rocco's got to get by the guy that recruited him. So, I mean, if we're being 100% honest here, Jeff Hafley recruited Donovan Ezra-Rocco because he was his head coach at Boston College.
And he's now the DC in Green Bay, yes?
Yes. And I don't think that's going to happen. I also think that all of this James Pierce stuff is completely overblown, and he's a way better football player. Now, that being said, I understand what Logan is saying. I also understand what you're saying, that the Commanders they're not going to take guys that are character risks and they don't love football. And I totally get that. So if it had been somebody else, I'm trying to think of who was on the board at that time. I walked away from my mock going, when I got to Washington, I went, they don't really have another choice. It's here or nothing.
Well,
I would have probably gone.
To me, the guy that keeps coming up there is do you take the receiver in Egbuka, which we talked about a little bit earlier. He's the guy that.
Are you okay with him playing exclusively out of the slot?
I think I think he can play a little bit outside. He and Debo are interchangeable enough that if not necessarily that he's your starter outside, but that if you need to move Debo in for a certain something, that Egbuka is not going to be totally lost out there.
I will press Egbuka within an inch of his life every time you stick him on the outside. He's a great route runner. He's got great feet. He does not get off press well. Now, could he do it in time? Sure. And maybe you can teach it because he is super crafty, great route runner. He's just not quite as big as I want him to be.
Yeah, that is I mean, if he was bigger and could do that, he would be probably a top 15 pick. And this is the trouble of picking 29 is you're not, everyone's like, oh, you got to get a bona fide A+ starter. And it's like, not at 29. That's not how it works. Those guys
you got to
are
get the best player. Look, and this is, if I'm giving one fait accompli to Commanders fans, as a lifelong fan of a team that has picked 29 or lower exactly 2 times in my entire life, this is such a luxury to be able to just sit back and let the bad teams reach. Let Pittsburgh go get Jalen Milroe. Let Atlanta shoehorn an edge rusher because they have to have one. Let whatever pick you want to talk about here. If you're Washington, stop getting so wrapped up into, well, we've got to come away from round 1 with an edge. If Ibuka's your guy, get Ibuka.
Yeah.
That's the way the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs have dominated this league for the last half of a decade, is because they sit at the end of the first round and they go, hey, all the stupid teams took quarterbacks and things like that were way out of position, and we wound up getting the 12th player on our board who fell in our laps at 31. If you do the same thing, that's one of the reasons I'm now kind of wishing I had taken Demetrius Knight, just because this win one for the Gipper speech would have meant a lot more if I had just done that. But I love Dylan Sampson too, so it's not an apples to apples comparison.
I would say too, Washington has already proven that they'll do that because they could have gone a lot of different directions at 35 last year. They took the guy that was like the 12th best player on their board. They took Johnny Newton. And take what you want of the evaluation, but like for them, he was that guy. We saw the behind the scenes little documentary thing that they did. They had their horizontal tiers, and there was one dude left at the top of the first round, and it was Johnny Newton. He was the only first round player they had left on the board. They took him, even though it wasn't a position of need. But you see how fast the league turns over. All of a sudden this year, you've got Jonathan Allen's gone, and we're 1 year away now from Deron Payne probably being out of here contractually, looking at that. And I could see them going defensive tackle if Derek Harmon or whoever falls to 29. You said you're a Nolan guy. If he's available, like I could see them doing that if there aren't any other options. Of course, the best situation is that one of these edges does fall, or they love one of these corners or something like that happens. But we're finally a week away from finding out. Jeremy, you're a week and probably a couple days, because you're probably not going to sleep till the end of the draft, but you're getting close to being able to sleep.
So I'm in Green Bay. So we're doing every pick live. I've got to drive to Green Bay. Because this is 13-hour drive from Asheville, North Carolina to Green Bay, Wisconsin. We have a deal with Ford, and we have a gigantic mobile studio. It's like the tailgate command center, so it's got speakers in it, and it's got all of the plugs, and I can literally work from the second I leave Asheville to the second we pull into Green Bay. So we'll be there the whole time. Then I'm doing grades. And then I'm almost like the groundhog on Groundhog Day. I have this one day that is my time to shine. And if I see my shadow, everybody's happy. If they don't see my shadow, everybody's sad, or however that works. I don't really know.
Yeah.
And then I go away. And for months at a time, you go, hey, whatever happened to that big Luke Combs ginger feller? Well, we're not actively drafting now. He's taking a sleep to get ready for the month and a half where he doesn't sleep.
He's hibernating.
Next spring.
He is hibernating. All right, Jeremy, if people want to get more of your stuff out here over the next couple of weeks, what do you have coming? The draft guides coming and everything else. So what should people watch for from and prior to Green Bay, and where can they find it?
So the draft guide will drop on Tuesday. I did. Now mine is, I see Dane Brugler's beast and go, well, that makes my draft guide feel. I almost have a little man complex now. Like, well, Dane's got 447,000 players ranked. Sweet. Dane is. I look at Dane the way you guys look at me.
We look at Dane that way too. All due respect.
When Logan said you're a witch, no, the witch is Dane Brugler, because that dude is not.
Which one of you is the East and which one of you is the West?
So I am in the East. and I don't remember where he is.
He's in the Midwest. He lives in Ohio.
That's what I wanted to. For some reason, I thought it was Detroit. But so my draft guide comes out. It's got full 7-round mock draft for every team. Team needs top 150 player profiles. Then I've got my top 500, and there's a little blurb about every player. So when Washington takes a player on draft day, you can go, hey, this is what he would have thought, and then we'll be putting all the stuff out. You can find it on my website, nfldraft.net, and then you can find it at our on the show website, which is the Sportsocracy. That's where we are on all social medias as well.
All right, so make sure you're following Jeremy there, including if you're watching us on YouTube. He is on YouTube, and his show is there every single day. Jeremy, greatly appreciate your time, sir. I know it's a really busy time of year, but this was a lot of fun, entertaining, informative. That's why we had you back, and we'll let you sleep after the draft, but eventually, hopefully, we'll get a chance to review this thing.
Hey, anytime. You guys are some of my favorites. Your fans are the nicest people on earth. I actually told one of them that now listens to my show as well. I said, you're this close to converting me to just a full-time Washington Commander fan. I'm on the edge.
You guys heard it.
I'm like Creed. I'm 6 feet from the edge, and I'm thinking maybe 6 feet ain't so far down. Maybe I
normally ramble in the outro. I'm not gonna. I mean, well, I could ramble because it's Creed and just kind of put a little distance between us and that. But I think that's a good place to end.
Just throwing Creed shade. I followed Creed around this past summer. Greatest band of the 20th century, and you know it. They are Nickelback on steroids.
Is that a compliment? I think that's for a different show. We're done.
Sing it. It comes on the radio and you sing it. You know it.
Maybe it's not so far down. Jeremy Greene, everybody. We'll see you next time. Logan will be back for a reaction to this and a mailbag early next week here on Take Command. Thanks for watching this clip of Take Command, which has a brand new home.
That's right. You can watch on YouTube at the Team 980.
You can also listen to full episodes in the free Odyssey app, which is now enabled with Apple CarPlay. So we'll just, follow you around.